So for this particular Umango session, I wanted to cover off some categories of Umango, and under each category looking at different aspects of the product and how they can provide features but also benefits to both yourself and your clients. So those categories are security, sources, extraction, conversion, exporting and printing. And they're almost like the Umango process or life cycle as the image or the document gets processed. And along the way I'm going to be covering off some sneak peek information regarding 21.9. Don't tell anyone. Okay, so let's get started under each of those particular categories. So the first is the category of security. And let's start with Umango's ethos, which is we don't believe in creating another database or another system of management where we really want to be able to utilize your client's systems already. Let's not create another layer of management. And that's certainly the case with Windows authentication. You know, it's really nice and simple where we want to be able to, for example, filter who has access to a particular document process or a job. So HR person can only process HR documents, for example. But also we want to trap and be able to filter and use the authenticated user, perhaps on converting documents and then sending them back to the authenticated user's email address or home directory, or just trap who that particular person was as part of the metadata to save on a document management system. So security. The nice thing within Umango, job access permissions, you just start typing who you want to have access to a particular job and it'll automatically interrogate and come back domain users, window users, but also more importantly in this case I've just typed in Robert, Umango comes back with I don't know who Robert is, and it'll tell you automatically. And of course you can import, you use LDAP and all that sort of stuff users, so nice and easy. But also within Umango you have your administration settings. And this is where you can simply set up administrators. They've got the ability to be able to configure jobs. Perhaps you want to specify people to be able to process documents where someone might be away, for example. And on that note, of course, there are other methods and things that you can do within Umango to allow for people to process documents, depending on month or whatever they're away, all that sort of stuff as well. But nice and easy to configure users, domain, window users, and also who the administrators are. It's nice and easy. Not only that, but you might have customers say, well, you know what, we don't use LDAP, we don't use Windows typical user groups, we've got our own system here. Not a problem. You can create a simple script to be able to call on that information and better use it within Umango as well. So again, our ethos, using whatever the particular client's systems are and you making those available within Umango. Now, another aspect of security is being able to filter who can do what at the multifunction device. Now you should be aware Umango has an awesome embedded on an incredibly wide range of different manufacturers' devices. And this enables you to be able to simply push out particular Umango jobs, but also filter at the device who's doing what they've got access to, and again being able to capture that information. Now previously you may have been forced to sell a print management system where a client says, you know what, security around scanning is really important, perhaps not so much on printing, but I want to make sure who's scanning, I want to know who that is and what they've got access to. Well, Umango now has the ability to support the authenticated user at the multifunction device as part of the Umango embedded. The important thing is it doesn't affect the rest of the multifunction device features. It'll happily play and work alongside document management, print management systems. So it won't affect those either. But what it does is it means that you don't need to sell a print management system where you just want scanning security. Umango will enable you to be able to dynamically use cards and all that sort of stuff and pins as you would normally. And it'll enable you to be able to filter by jobs nice and easily. So what you do there is you can specify very simply. You can force log on, you can allow a guest access, but also you can allow people to log in and organically tap and authenticate who they are as they go. And of course Umango will build that as it progresses. And what you see on the multifunction device screen is when I hit the Umango icon, it'll bring up this swipe or tag or enter your PIN, and again you authenticate before you can then step through to Umango and be allowed to see what you want to see and capture who you are. Nice and simple. And again, now you don't need that other layer of security that you may have had to previously when installing a third-party application. Under this security conversation, another thing to mention around is PDF encryption, right? So what we can do here as part of creating, say for example, a PDFA, we can dynamically create passwords around getting access to that document. And these are what we call merge text fields. So these are dynamically created if you wish. So rather than being just a particular password, it can be based on maybe the supplier type that we're processing and dynamically creating a security password based on, supplier A and supplier B and C, for example. So very easy to create the security around being able to open the PDF, but also we can limit when someone opens that file what they want to do with it. So we can password protect printing, copying, modifying the document, lots of things here. And this is really powerful where your customers might have a forward-facing website or an intranet where they're saying, look, here's PDFs, but what we're doing is we're limiting what you can do with them from a security perspective. So, nice feature there. This is a feature within Umango 21.9, so pay attention. Make sure you're writing those notes down. So, part of security in Umango 21.9, so that's that point release that's coming up very soon. Our cloud-based, our export connectors, you've now got this tab called shareable link. And what that means is within, again, your client's back-end system, so Umango is not forcing another layer of what Umango does, but we're utilizing your client's export methodologies to create a secure link. And that link, of course, you can use in any of the Umango export methods. So you can use that link in a document management system, a back-end system, whether it's even creating XML or whatever you want. We'll talk about those in a moment. But also what's really cool is you can then send that shareable link, if you wish, even in an email. Not only that, but you can also specify the number of days that link is set before it expires. How good is that? So it's security, but also if you think about it, it's also reducing the need to send files around the system, the network, if you like. But also, you've got issues around, the email server and how many files you can attach and all that sort of stuff. Guess what? It's a secure link now that the recipient clicks on to be able to receive their particular files. And this is just showing you when I've selected or created that particular link, it then is a variable that's available in any part of Umango to be able to create that particular document link as part of export. So on to the next category now, which is sources. So by definition, Umango looks at a source as like an input. And there are a wide range of different sources that Umango can use. So it's worth just taking a moment to have a look at those. So the first one is the fact that we can filter, of course, by the sender's email address. So we can stipulate here only these particular senders that are coming into the business, or they're the emails that we're going to grab the attachments and process within Umango. But if you can see where I'm moving my mouse, these are little green icons represent a regex builder, a regular expression builder within Umango. So for any of the propellers, as I call it, in the room, those technical people, creating regular expressions is incredibly powerful to be able to specify what you want to do or what is containing to a particular piece of information, what to ignore, and so forth. So not only can we filter by an email address, but we could, for example, create a regular expression around the subject heading in the incoming email address. In this case, if it contains in the subject heading of the incoming email accounts, I want to grab that and I want to process the attachments within Umango. And we can also filter by the way, with anything in the email body. Again, using those regular expressions, really powerful. It contains this and or this and or this, then process the document, otherwise ignore it. And by the way, if I haven't mentioned, we support POP and IMAP, of course, as well. And you can delete the original email from the server or not. So very powerful and very flexible. I should have mentioned you can also filter by document types as well. So only grab Word documents or PDFs or TIFF files or combinations of your list and ignore other incoming attachments as well, of course. Another source is an IP address, and what we mean by that is multifunction device, of course, but also an IP address of a computer on the network via the web browser. I'm going to take a little bit of a look at that web browser side of things in a moment. So first off, Umango tries to do as much as possible within the product. I think you'll understand that. We try that simplicity using clients' existing systems, but also in this case, if you just specify devices, automatically Umango will interrogate the network and list all the supported multifunction devices that are on the network. We try and take the need to be able to go to the multifunction device and do any of the configuration. We try and reduce that as much as possible. So automatically I would be able to see my multifunction devices in the network. I could push a particular Umango job button to say something on the 5th floor, and of course that job might have accounts payable jobs or other HR jobs, and I might then push a different job to logistics on the ground floor, for example, or administration. So it's that easy from this one point that I can push out to different multifunction devices on the network. How easy is that? It's also worth mentioning that recently we reviewed our MFD source pricing. So pushing that embedded on the multifunction device, and by the way, obviously be able to validate in real-time metadata on the touchscreen of the device. So it's sort of like a workstation in its own right. The pricing of that has seriously reduced. That means that tenders or organisations where you've got a decent fleet of multifunction devices, getting Umango out there is as inexpensive and easier than ever before. On that note, it's worth also mentioning the fact that in the professional tier of Umango, and I'm not going to go too much into the different tiers, have a chat to your ITS channel manager if you're not sure, but in the professional tier, we enabled a little while ago this simple feature to enable document import at any computer or browser. So by ticking that box in the professional tier of Umango, it means that every web browser on this network that logs into this Umango instance, guess what? I can drag documents from that web browser and process them within Umango. How easy is that? There's that whole idea of getting Umango across the organisation as the default way of processing documents, converting them, pushing them to back-end systems, etc., etc. So take a look at that. The other source of Umango, of course, is a network folder. So we can specify this particular folder on the network. We can include subfolders. We could specify to delete the sources after if we wish. But also, Umango supports a crazy wide range of different source file types. And it's worth taking a moment just to discuss what the benefit of that is. So often your clients would have what I call a disparate range of different file types. They've got some folders, they've got JPEGs, TIFFs, PowerPoint slides, Word files, Excel files. And by the way, Umango supports file formats that I've never heard of before as well. And we've got the ability to convert all those disparate or different file types and convert what I call a unified file format on output, like a PDF, a text searchable PDF, so we can search the content of a file, maybe converting those documents to Word and Excel for repurposing. And it's that great thing where we can push into a unified file format on output, again for importing into a document management system for compliance and all that sort of stuff as well. So being able to grab different files and convert a universal file format on output is a nice benefit of Umango. New feature in 21.9, by the way, under sources, is what we call document drop. Now this is all about, again, making Umango easy to just push out across the organisation. So you know how I mentioned that professional tier and just enable that across any web browser? Or of course in the other tiers you can specify that IP address of that workstation. Document drop, when I log in as a user now, is there. I click on that and you can see all of these sort of shortcuts, if you like, where I can drag documents and simply drop them on a job and it'll start processing them automatically. So there's minimal clicks, minimal steps to be able to grab documents and process them. So again, they might be images on a tablet and I've got to the web browser and I can just simply go there, my images on my tablet, drag them onto there within the tablet or the mobile device or on my computer, and easy access, minimal clicking to get those into the system, getting processed and exported. So document drop. And then remember with professional tier, incredibly easy to be able to deploy that across the organisation. So this little screen grab actually shows you what that looks on a mobile device. So a tablet or a phone, bingo, I log in. There you go. There's my document drop icons. How easy is that? Nice and big. Drag them across there, and it'll start processing them straight away. So there you go. Invoice capture. Little cog immediately icon starts, and it just starts processing those documents automatically. So check out 21.9. And by the way, this little reference here is to remind me, this is great where I'm logged into the network, but I might be working from home, right? So no dramas, log into my web browser and I start dragging documents in there, or again a tablet, and it'll process them and push them into OneDrive within the organisation, for example, or SharePoint or whatever it might be. So nice and easy. Next tab, or next category if you like, is extraction. I'm going to take a moment to look at this. Hopefully you should be fairly familiar with the flexible range of methods of how Umango grabs information off our images and paperwork. Incredibly wide range, and again very powerful, but we've tried to design these in a very easy way to configure and use. So I'm going to take a look at a couple of these. First one is Lasso OCR. A bit of my favourite because those that know me know I can't type to save myself. So Lasso OCR in the web browser, what it does is it zooms into a particular area and it allows the user with the mouse to simply highlight the word or phrase. It'll OCR it and it'll populate it in the appropriate zones within Umango, metadata fields if you like. The next one is a fixed index. Look, this is something that's going to be a constant across all the documents by default. It's nice, for example, if I'm doing, say, for example, scanning for this office, and by default, it's going to be this particular index field. And also it might be a fixed index that we don't even want the users to worry about, but a piece of metadata that travels when I'm doing these particular documents. We're going to be taking a look at fixed index and default values in a moment as well. Barcode. Love barcodes. Umango's updated recently to be able to scan, really even support reading the worst barcode types that you could see. I've processed and seen processed documents of barcodes that, gosh, have been handled by truck drivers that have been sitting on the dash of the truck that have, dirty, crumpled up and all the rest of it. Umango can read those, read them very fast. But also, of course, we can read 2D like QR codes and your traditional 1D barcodes as well, and a nice wide range of different barcode types. Zonal OCR, being able to read a fixed zone of information and be able to convert that from an image into text, of course, and using the ABI engine. I'll mention that in a moment. But also we support regular expressions. Now for those that are not maybe familiar with that, it means that you can draw a really large area within your document to extract as your template, and you can say, you know what, dynamically go find somewhere within that, and it's going to be moved. It might not be always in the same spot. It might not appear the same way every time. Being able to create some very fast and very granular and intelligent ways of being able to dynamically hunt for and find that information. Key from image, simply zoom into that area and better type it in. Export field, this is worth just explaining to you. Often your clients might say, you know what, I want to grab the supplier code, a total, but also I want to be able to allow my staff to be able to navigate OneDrive or SharePoint or Dropbox or whatever it might be, or navigate a series of network folders document by document. That's what export field is. ODBC lookup, of course, interrogate an external database and do magical things with comparing data, merging and all that sort of stuff. And last but not least, optical mark. Now, is Umango a questionnaire or a education-based system of learning and answering questions for an exam? It's not. But optical mark's really great where you've got tick boxes to check where you've attached certain documents, so you're ticking them off. Yep, I've done this. And also it's really good where you've got a signature panel, right? And you can just draw a region around that and just say to Umango, is there a certain pixel count in there? Yes, we'll take that as signed. If it's blank, it's no. Of course, we can then route those documents into different processes within Umango and on export to trigger different things within the business. And most of those, by the way, you can do in real time on the touchscreen of the multifunction device, web browser, and of course on the tablet and mobile using the native apps as well. Extraction, this is what I mentioned about default values. This is pretty powerful. And this is where you can specify something that, let's just say when I'm processing a particular type of document, 80-90% of it is going to be this particular value, right? Well, you can set that default value. It means that just when there's an exception, I can alter it, of course, but it doesn't mean that I've got to select the same thing every time. So what a typical result is. I think I gave you the example before where you might say, you know what, the default is this particular office location. Let's just put that in that particular job because 99% of the time it's going to be this office. But also, by the way, this is a merged field, this default value, just like any of the merged fields within Umango. That means that I can just click in there, I've got all my system variables and I've got all my zonal fields to do some pretty amazing magic with. And that might be, you know what, I'm creating a default value and it's based off zone 1 and zone 2 and creating a new value. And I've got an example there where you might have subtotal as a zone, then you might look up tax and you might add those together, and then you've got this new default value in this particular field called invoice total, and that's what the calculation or the computing of that value is. How cool is that? So very, very powerful what you want to do and automate within Umango. Okay, we're progressing through my categories, if you like. So conversion. So conversion, of course, is taking a file from one type and converting into another. And we've mentioned about disparate file formats and things of that nature. But another feature around conversion is that we have some pretty amazing algorithms built into Umango to be able to convert and minimize the file type, I should say size, and also maintain the quality or the integrity of the quality of the document as well. We want a small file size. Why? Because it means it's the smaller files that are traveling through the network, the internet perhaps, but also something that we might want to attach as an email and export out. Smaller file sizes are the best objective, of course. The other thing is regarding PDF compression and compliance. So on the compliance side of it, and this is worth a discussion with your particular customers. So usually if they're using a document management system, and usually there's some form of industry standard that they want to comply an electronic image to. And typically that's a PDFA, an archiving standard of Adobe. And you can ask them, you know, what type of PDFA, for example, do you need to comply to? This is really good for government kind of capabilities and those sorts of things as well. But any of your clients where they need to conform to a particular file version or type, Umango supports an incredibly wide range of different conformance PDFA types. Here's a really cool little feature of Umango as well around the conversion aspect. Now, if you've ever clicked on the file properties of a Windows file, you'll suddenly note that there's these fields of information that are tagged to the particular file. They include things like the title, the author, the subject, keywords, creator, and the producer. Now, they're fields that are rarely used, but guess what? They're all fields that you can populate with Umango, with system variables, with pieces of metadata. And of course, those fields not only are file properties, but then you can also search on them as well, which is pretty cool. So here's a nice example where I've just specified in the file properties field creator, and all I've done is I'm going to populate the LDAP of the particular user. How good is that? And of course, again, that becomes a field that I can search and retrieve on if I wish. So it's worth taking a moment under the conversion conversation to highlight that Umango used the ABBY OCR engine. Now, why? What does that mean? What are the benefits? So if you've ever OCR'd a document and it comes out as like courier default text and it's scrambled all across the page, everything's a bit of a mess, tables are missing, pictures aren't in the right spot, there's no bolding, there's no headings, it's a mess. ABBY is the Rolls-Royce of OCR engines. It has the best technology to be able to retain a page layout from an image to a office-based document. So it analyzes the document, it notes paragraphs, columnized text, heading, embeds where pictures and tables are. It is the best at retaining that page layout on export as, say, a Word document. But even that, we can specify to only look for Excel tabled information, for example, in an image, and convert that to Excel, and even specify every table to be a little tab down the bottom of Excel as well. Very accurate, very, very good. And ABBY, of course, supports the incredibly widest range of different language types as well. So converting from a particular language in a printed material into an Office document is supported as well. Last but not least, of course, with Umango and ABBY, there are no page count limitations. Suddenly the product, you will not have experience where suddenly the OCR engine stops. There's no worrying about page counts and what quantities the client's using or not. It will just work with Umango. So there's no page count limitations with ABBY in Umango. Export. So export's part of that conversation. If we have a look, we've taken from security, taken with a conversation around sources, conversion, the capturing of that metadata, and now what we're doing on export is we're now saving that converted file and also grabbing that metadata and putting it somewhere. And again, it might be using to name a file, subdirectory and directory structure, or put into a wide range of different document management systems. The objective, of course, to enable that to be able to search and retrieve on it later. That's what we're here. That's the conversation at the end of the day. So first off, I've mentioned to you, really nice within 21.9 is we've got this encrypted link on export, which is really, really cool. And there it is again. There's that little tab. In any of our cloud-based connectors, you just simply click on that shareable link. It'll dynamically make a link within the client's backend system, which is really great. And as I've mentioned to you before, you can specify if that link has an expiry, if it's not acted upon as well, which is really, really nice. But here's another one of my little favorite export connectors, and that's the what we call merge text connector. So you may have experienced this, I'm sure you probably have, is because there's so many, let's say millions of document management systems on the planet, you'll talk to a client and part of the conversation will be, well, what document management systems do you use? And they've suddenly said that they've got this unusual document management system, you've never heard of it before. And this alleviates the need to have a dedicated export connector for each document management system. So a document management system worth its salt would be able to import at least a CSV file, a comma separated value file, or an XML file. And what you typically do is you go to the author's site and you find a sample of, in this case, the XML that the document management system structure uses, was looking for, when it imports the metadata, and of course then the file. And all you do is you paste that XML structure here, and you scroll down to the relevant areas, and you just simply insert the zones or metadata values out of Umango into that XML file. You hit save, and congratulations, you've just created a bespoke solution into their document management system. Even I can do that. And it means, of course, stating the obvious, that once you've got that bespoke solution, you simply knock on the next client door using that document management system and the next. It's a good solution to be able to provide, and again, not too difficult. Also worth noting is on export, you can also create personalized emails, so the email export connector. So here what you can do is you can, create the verbosity around, or the words, I'll get it right, around the email. So you can have here, for example, thank you for your order, and the metadata field order is put in there, so that's dynamic. We can confirm your delivery was made on, date and time, whatever the metadata or zones within Umango to personalize that email. And you can put in your logos and all that sort of stuff within that personalized email export. The other export connector I'm going to mention here is our web request. So this is another method of exporting through the internet, but also really useful and pretty powerful. So here's an unusual example where we're actually processing an address field within Umango, and we're interrogating Google Maps, and we're confirming that street address exists. So being able to interrogate internet-based protocols and bring back and return values within our web request connector. Oh, the other thing, so there's an example of, my export connector with the links. So again, I can reference these. So these multiple different export methodologies or secure links that have embedded into an email. But here's something I really wanted to mention with that 21.9 feature. New feature is the ability to create a message. So this is under the email connector, and send in the user's draft folder, and don't send. Okay, so what does that mean? It is very powerful. So within Umango now, I can process documents, extract meaningful data, convert the file as I mentioned, then create a custom email, attach the image if I wish, but send it to the authenticated user's email drafts account. So then I go into my email application, go to my drafts, there are all my emails ready to go. I simply click on each one, append information, maybe add information to it, change whatever I want, and then I hit send. How cool is that? So another nice stop point before actually exporting the email if you wish. 21.9. Okay, we're almost done. The final part of the Umango life cycle, if you like, is the ability to not only export information, but print. And this is another real powerful and useful thing to have a conversation with your clients around. So not only have we the ability to grab information, name a file and save it into a client's system, but we can also output another hard copy of that document as well. And that might be for another document process within the business. Yeah, as another hard copy. So I can process information, save into OneDrive, where it might be, and then maybe on the 5th floor, I want to print on yellow pieces of paper another copy of this for, again, to be handled within the business. Not only that, but within Umango you've got some image filtering and cleanup options. So remembering I can redact or highlight information. So when I print out my output, I might want to blur out or remove the address field, a credit card detail, a medical ID number, whatever it might be. And I can obscure that not only as part of importing so the Umango user never sees it, but of course an export and print as well. The other thing I can do is watermark the output. So this is really useful where I might have picking slip watermarked on the bottom or the top of the hard copy that's been printed on said level 5. And that's going to be grabbed as hard copy, it's continuing on with the business, but it's now got whatever it is watermarked on the document. Okay. I can also create dynamically another barcode on said output, which means I can scan it again and capture metadata off that barcode, which is pretty cool as well. Because that barcode data is dynamic, right? So it's on anything that I've used before within Umango, from the user, system variables, and things that I've extracted and put that on the document. And just to show you, when you're in Umango, you can even process and print to a range of different printers. So you can allow the user here to be able to go, okay, I want this on the 5th floor, but this one's part of logistics, I want it to go on the 2nd floor. So you can browse and navigate and decide when and where to print. You could use Umango's default printer, and also what's really cool is you can print back out to the multifunction device where the scanning originated from. How cool is that? So scan the document, I should say authenticate, scan the document, real-time validation, export, and then the engine or the MFD will rev up and it'll output a copy as well at the same time. Nice. Okay, so that was a lot to cover. Hopefully there's some exciting, interesting stuff for you to see there, including some of recapping of Umango's processes along the way, some of the features and some of the benefits, and also some of the stuff that's coming out in 21.9.